Lillibud, yeah.
Lillibud.
Keith Anderson.
Ralph.
Ralph Anderson. See, that's why that's why I got to go. Yeah, there you are. All right, here we go. Hi, my name is Beth Hiley here from Board Game Geek TV at Gen Con 2014, and I'm sitting down with Ralph Anderson right at the moment with Z-Man Games.
Yes.
Contrary to what your shirt might say.
Yes. I made the contract with Z-Man way before I started with Eagle Griffin, but I do work for Eagle Griffin Games.
But you have brought us, for Z-Man, Chimera the card game.
Yes.
Which I have to say looks quite spectacularly beautiful.
They did a fantastic job on the artwork. I'm well pleased with what they've done. So I certainly gave them enough samples of what I was thinking of, but then the artist just made it look good.
Always nice when the vision in your head is exceeded by the reality.
Yeah, and it usually is. I worked as a collaborative artist in theater for most of my life as a director and as an actor. So, you know, I like collaborating. So that's a good thing. Yeah.
All right, Chimera, how do we play?
Okay, Chimera is a 3-player only game. It is a cutthroat game, I like to call it. And it's in the family of trick-taking, shedding, ladder progression type games. And is very similar in DNA to Tishu. Tishu is one of my favorite games. It's a 4-player partnership game. And this one fills in that spot. When you don't have the 4th player, you can play Chimera, or even if you get the 4th player, send them for lunch and play Chimera. But basically, the object of the game is to get the most points, and you get the most points by winning a bid and then being the first to go out. Although then the other 2 become your opponents, so they're working together, and they have ways to either stop you or make some points themselves. So in all of that, you try to be the first to 400 points. If there's still a tie at some point over 400 points, then you play another hand until there's a sole winner, so somebody could come back still. So the game is played. You're going to deal 17 cards to each player and 3 cards in a kitty. And after the bid, then the winner of the bid will take the kitty, and then the other players may have some cards to pass depending on what the bid was, and then you play the hand. So I'm going to talk about playing the hand first. Okay. The way to play the hand is you're going to make a lead of a legal combination. That could be a single card, so I could lead a 1, for example, and then everybody, in order to play to the trick, would have to play a card higher than 1, and it would build up. You can pass. You don't have to play a card that's legal to play. You can choose to hold it for a more strategic, better time to do it. And you also can come back in until 2 players have passed in a row. Once 2 players pass in a row, then the player who played the last card takes the stack, and that's their trick. Now, the cards they take only matter for the point cards. There's 4 2s that are worth 10 points each. If they can see that, they're backwards this way. And these are worth 5 points each. So that's 60 points that players can take.
And actually, I'm going to put one of each out here, right in the center. I know we kind of have
the fortune toads and the prosperity cats.
Oh yes, which they've got a nice little 10 and 5 in the center there to help you remember how many points they're worth.
So those are points that no matter what happens with the hand, if you take a trick with those points, you're going to score those points. Guaranteed points. Okay, so you can play single cards. You can also play pairs. So I have here a pair of 3s. So you can play a pair of 3s, be beaten by a pair of 4s, and so on until 2 people pass. If you lead with pairs, you must continue with pairs. You must continue with pairs. You can also play stepped pairs, and then I call it the rule of 6 because you have to have at least 6 cards in a run of stepped pairs, in any run of pairs or trips. So 6 cards would be 2 times 3 is 6, and so we got 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. Now, in order to beat that, you'd have to play step pairs that are higher. So you might play 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, or 8, 8, 9, 9, 10, 10, but it has to be the same number and quantity of cards, okay? So after the step pairs, then another thing you can play is trips. So you can play 3 of a kind. So guess what? In order to beat 3 3s, you need at least 3 4s, exactly like the others. And it's also the rule of 6 for the stepped trips, which is 3 3 3 4 4 4. Then they'd have to have like 5 5 5 6 6 6. So you have to keep playing the same number of cards in the same configuration in order
at a higher
level.
Ladder.
Exactly. Now, here's another really neat thing in this game. You know, in Tishu, people really hate the single cards because it's hard to win, and so you can play 3 of a kind with a single card. You could also play 3 of a kind with a pair. So those are illegal combinations. And guess what? I can also play stepped threes of a kinds. I can't play an 8 for my card because that's a pair, but I can play 2 different cards. It could even be one of the big cards to get rid of. So again, that's a legal combination you can play. You can also play it with the pairs, and then you'd also have to have another pair.
Now that I'm noticing that while the trips go up the ladder, that this sort of add-on does not.
Does not matter. Any pair will do. Okay? Now notice too that in pairs, these are going to be the highest pair because it goes 1 through 12, and then you have the heroes. They don't have a sequence, so they can't be used in anything that has a run in it.
Okay.
So it couldn't be used. It can't go 12, 12, 12, HHH, because that's not a sequence.
Exactly.
Right?
Where does H fall in on a number line?
It doesn't. It doesn't. So, at any rate, besides those combinations, we have a couple of others. By the way, when I mentioned the single cards, I should have said it goes 1 through 12, then H, hero, then the Pia, then the Chimera. Okay? So that's the rank of cards. So if you play to 1, that's the top card of that rank. If you play pairs, 2 heroes would be the top, 3 heroes would be the top of that. You can also play 4 of a kind, but that's a special thing that, like in Tishu, we call it a trap here, but it's called a bomb in Tishu. That can be played on any combination. So if I had 4 threes and they played a straight, which I haven't told you about yet, but you can also play a straight, at least 5 cards in a sequence, but I could play 4 threes and say, okay, now in order to beat that, they'd have to play 4 fours or higher.
Okay.
Okay? So it's basically, these are an exception. The other thing is, you only play cards when it's your turn to play. In Tishu, you can play bombs out of sequence, but not in this game. There's only 3 players, it's not as necessary to have that timing issue that sometimes comes up in Tishu. So playing a straight is fine. Of course, if the straight goes to 12, you can't add that to the straight. But the Pia has a special ability. It can be used to replace a card in a straight. So if I didn't have a 9 in my hand, I could use the Pia instead, and I have the straight. Or you could use it to make the straight longer. Okay? So all of those are possible. And that's indicated, it's a P for Pia, and you also got the little straight symbol there to remind you that you can use that to finish out a straight for you. Okay, there's one more sequence of cards you can play. Remember I said 4 of a kind was a trap?
Trap.
Okay, and then the Chimera Flight is also a trap, but we call it Chimera Flight because it's just the 2 cards, and that is the top thing that can be played. So once that's played, the trick is over. No one can beat it. Okay? Now, with 4 of a kind, I can also add 2 single cards, or I could add 2 pairs. So I get rid of 8 cards at once.
Wow.
But it's no longer a trap, so that means 4 fours would beat it. Would still beat it. Because that's a trap and it can beat any legal combination. So that's true here as well.
For the ability to lay down many cards at once, you're sacrificing the power of the trap.
Exactly right. So anyway, so you got a lot of different ways to get rid of cards, but of course it's all about knowing where your stoppers are, because after I lead this, what do I lead next in order to get rid of all my cards? And they're looking to break their way in. When's the right time to play a trap? And it's very interesting because in the scoring, the way the scoring works, I'll put it out here, is that you'll put the bid in this area where it says bid, and then you keep the score in this area. Of course, you put the players' names up here. But then there's this area for bonuses. So if you are the person who won the bid, you're eligible for bonuses. For each trap played in the game, if you go out first, you'll get 25 points. If the Chimera Flight is played, you'll get a bonus of 25 points. If one of the 2 partners against the Chimera Hunters, if one of them doesn't play a card to a trick anytime during the hand, that's another bonus of 25 points. Even if both of them don't play, it's still only one bonus of 25. But there could be more than one trap, so you could get an extra 25, 50, 75, 100 points in a hand. The most I've seen is 125, but it's theoretically possible to get more than that. So tell me if you do, because that'll be a fun story to hear. So anyway, if the Chimera goes out first, so it's now, as the hunters, I have to say, do I want to play a trap? Because if I'm not going to beat him, I'm giving him 25 points. So maybe it's better to hold off. Or maybe it's better to use it to get all the point cards, because now I'm making some points while he's making some points. So so if he's behind me and I'm near to winning, hey, I might not care. I might just want to use so every hand is very situational based where the score is about how you treat each of the other players. So many times we might be partners, but you play some twos, I might overplay you even though you're my partner, okay? It's in my best interest. So that's why I call it a cutthroat 3-player card game. So the last thing to tell you is how the bid works. After the cards are dealt, well, first of all, let me just show you the neat mechanism. We just did a quick shuffle here, okay? And I'm going to ask you to cut the cards to me. Then we take this card and place it face up and put that top card on to deal. We're going to put 3 cards in the kitty, and then we're going to deal one at a time,
exactly.
17 cards to each player, however that works
out.
But one of them in there is the face-up card. I think it's, there it is. Then that player is going to bid first.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun and easy, and it makes it random each turn. Also, there's a little bit of information, and if the Pia or the Chimera or a hero comes up, then everybody watches the deal. That's the only card game I know where everybody wants to watch the deal to see if they get the card. Okay? So at any rate, once that person, once the bidding starts, the only bids are pass, 20, 30, or 40. So if you say 40, bid's over. So it's aggressive card game because if I bid 40, if I don't make it out, then all I lose is 40 points and the chance for any bonuses that may have happened. But if I make my bid, I get double my bid, 80 points, plus the bonuses, plus in every case, everybody scores those point cards. So if I have a strong hand, I might hope to take a bunch of those. But also, if the 2 partners go out first, they're going to get 20 points each. He's going to lose the 40. So there's still a big differential in the score, plus everybody scores the point cards. So that's how the meta game of the whole game works, with the hand play of each game trying to go out first.
And what triggers the end of the game? Is it
as soon as one player goes out, then the hand is over, and any cards left in your hand are not scored. The rest are thrown away. I forgot to mention, after the bid, the kitty goes to the player who declared, who won the bid, and he doesn't get to get rid of any cards. There are just 3 new cards in his hand. He's now got 20 cards to get rid of. The other players, if the bid was 20, they don't pass a card. If it was 30, they get to pass 1 card secretly and simultaneously, no talking. And if it's 40, they get to pass 2 cards each. So, and that's very powerful, actually.
Yes, yes.
So the entire game is to 400 points, or for a shorter game you can play 300. For a longer game you can play to 500. Those are a good range.
Yeah.
More than that and less than that, there's not enough chance for people to come back, and more than that, it gets a little repetitive. But you want a fresh game, you know. So that's our recommendation. But certainly, if you want to try other things, I'd love to hear about that as well. I did a lot of play testing, but I can't do as much as is going to happen as soon as people start playing this. And I've already had a lot of great comments on Board Game Geek, which is the best place to find information about games. And there's already been a lot of good questions and answers on this, and I'm happy to answer any other questions that come up.
Oh, see, there's a challenge right there.
Yeah, yeah, I'd love to hear it because I love card games. And the reason I developed this is I love Tishu. I found a game that had some similarities that was for 3 players only, and I tweaked it and changed it and added things and stole things. You know, bad poets imitate, good poets steal. So I like to think I stole the good parts to put into this game, and it will give you the same feeling as Tishu, but it's an entirely different strategy, entirely different game.
Nice. Well, so there's your challenge to go check out Chimera, report back, and see if we can find any new little tweaks or variants or fun things.
Or just good stories.
Or just good stories. Yeah, we always like good stories here. And thank you for walking us through Chimera, so now everyone else can go check it out.
All right, thank you so much,
No problem. Ta-da! I like the card backs too.
Yeah, oh, they did such a nice